Hello, my name is Connie Sarkar, and today I'm going to be giving a brief geographic overview of the Atlantic slave trade. And I'm mostly going to be focusing on the western coast of Africa um, and the Americas, which it transports to, and then a little bit of Europe. So, going into the coasts where the slaves were mostly exported from, going from south to north, we have Benguela and Luanda, which were major exports because slaves were transported hugely from West Central Africa because of the size and location of the area. And then going up into the Bay of Biafra, Bay of Benin, and the Gold Coast, as you see here, they on the far western side, you have Calabar, which is now a huge metropolitan area because of its popularity back in the transatlantic slave times. And then over here on the western coast, you have Elmina, which was a very popular stop for ships that were coming around this part of Africa to get to India. And then going into the countries that they were imported into, mostly Brazil, the Caribbean, and North America, like the United States. But there were also some found over on the western side of South America and Europe. Brazil had the vast majority of slaves exported to it, and this is because of the high demand for slaves due to their agricultural products. Like, they were the main exporters of coffee and sugar, and they were a huge exporter of metals because of the mining that went on there. And they were the last country to actually abolish slavery due to this. And then after that, you have the Caribbean, um, Spanish America, United States, and then Europe are the last two exporters of slaves at that time. And going into the commercial shift due to the slave trade, basically, Africa, their main export was slaves, and then they exported them to the Americas, where in South America and Brazil, they mostly um, created or exported products such as like sugar and metals and coffee and stuff like that. And then in North America, it was a lot of agricultural products such as rice and cotton. And then these were transported up into Europe to manufacture those goods, where they created weapons, textiles, such as clothing, jewelry, but jewelry that was on the cheaper side. And those were exported back into America and Africa. And this is what is called the triangular trade um, of that time because of the triangular shape it makes between Africa, the Americas, and Europe. Going into specific trade routes, the trans-Saharan trade route is um, what covers most of northern Africa, and it's mainly concentrated over by Ghana and Morocco and more dense areas such as that. And it travels through the Saharan Desert to get to North Africa and over by the Mediterranean Sea. Going into the Indian Ocean trade routes, they exported slaves from mostly around central-ish Western Africa, like Mombasa, and then it followed the coast up through the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, Arabian Sea, over to India, um, and then through the Bay of Bengal into the South China Sea area. You see, they kind of avoid the Indian Ocean because of the monsoons there. And then finally, closing with the transatlantic um, trade routes. They sort of group into a South Atlantic trade route and a North Atlantic trade route because of the currents that were in the ocean at that time. So the export from Central Africa basically divides it in half, and then it is grouped into two triangular motions down into Southern America, back into Africa, and then so forth back into North America, into Europe, back into Africa.